Frozen food was supposed to be the safest bet in a shaky world. But what if the ready-to-heat meal in your freezer is rotting from the inside out in 2023 alone? Over 70% of frozen meat recalls involved major grocery chains, with bacteria, chemicals, even rodent contamination hiding behind value labels. How many times have you trusted a shrink-wrap dinner without checking the label? How many frozen burgers were 1 degree away from food poisoning? And how many manager's specials were really just repackaged risk you thought frozen meant preserved? But what if it just means postponed danger? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today, we expose the 7 grocery brands turning frozen food into a silent threat. Let's begin. Number 1, Walmart. They promised low prices, but they never said anything about rotten meat sealed in ice. Walmart built its empire on the illusion of affordability wrapped in convenience. Frozen meat under $5. Family-size meals for the price of a sandwich elsewhere. It became a backup plan. A rainy day savior. A way to feed the house without bleeding your wallet dry. But what happens when the one place that used to help you stretch the month starts serving bacteria with a side of betrayal? In June of 2022, the USDA flagged over 1.6 million pounds of Walmart's Great Value ground beef, pulling it off shelves due to contamination with E. coli O103. Not just a stomachache bug, this strain can cause kidney failure, especially in older adults and children. What's worse, it was already packaged, stocked, and shipped into homes. There were no warning signs, no strange smells, no expiration red flags. Just a normal day at the grocery store, except the meat was quietly poisoning trust across the country. But E. coli wasn't the only stowaway in those freezers. Customers began reporting frozen meat that smelled like a clogged drain after thawing. Others found chicken turning gray within sealed packaging, and bags filled with so much frost they looked like someone had stored them in a snowstorm. Not a factory. That's not a freezer meal, it's a frozen warning label. And if you think the problem starts at the store, think again. Much of Walmart's Great Value meat is outsourced across sprawling international chains, including facilities in Brazil, China, and Mexico. A warehouse worker confessed to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that meat pallets sat on concrete floors in 90-degree heat for hours without refrigeration, waiting for their turn to be refrozen and tossed back into circulation. Imagine leaving your Thanksgiving turkey out on the porch until sunset and calling it fresh. That's the kind of meat ending up in those Great Value bags. Even the comforting standbys like frozen meatloaf or turkey dinners come loaded with secrets. Tests from Food and Water Watch in 2023 revealed Great Value meals containing banned preservatives, sodium levels over 1,000 milligrams per serving, and even traces of antibiotics, suggesting improper slaughtering. So when you're reheating a tray of comfort food, you might actually be digesting leftovers from a broken supply chain. And let's not forget the human hands behind it all. Overseas workers, trapped in 12-hour shifts with no breaks. Process your meat in suffocating rooms without ventilation. Some collapsed on the factory floor, others just kept packing, sweat soaking through their aprons. When you're buying value, someone else is paying in exhaustion and exploitation. But what do you do when even the freezer betrays you in towns like Lubbock and Mobile? Locals are turning to places like El Rancho Supermercado regional grocers, partnering with nearby ranchers. Flash freezing meat within 24 hours, no cross-continent trucking, no meat that's gone through more airports than your luggage. Just honest cuts that thaw clean and cook true. And while butcher shops used to sound expensive, they've become safe havens in this frozen mess. By buying direct, you cut out shrink-wrap games, mystery additives, and the gamble of eating meat that might have traveled more than your pension check. Walmart may offer the lowest sticker price, but when the cost is your kidneys, your trust, and someone else's suffering, it's not a bargain. It's a trap behind frosted glass. Number 2, Dollar Tree. It's the store you go to when options run out, when your wallet's thinner than the patience of a clerk on closing shift. Dollar Tree is supposed to be the one place where a frozen pizza and a flickering microwave could still pull together dinner. For folks juggling bills like circus clowns' medication, rent, and gas in the same breath, Dollar Tree's freezer aisle has felt like a last defense. A frozen burrito for $1. That's not luxury, that's survival disguised as convenience. But lately, what's hiding behind that freezer door isn't just cheap, it's dangerous. In 2023, a nationwide recall shook whatever faith was left. Banquet chicken patties sold through Dollar Tree and produced by Conagra were yanked from shelves after they were found to contain sharp, jagged bone fragments. Not just unpleasant. We're talking emergency room level choking and bleeding risks. But the real rot isn't just in what's inside the box. It's in the system that put those boxes there in the first place. Unlike grocery chains that order consistent inventory from vetted suppliers, Dollar Tree often buys what others reject: overstock, close to expired, and even semi-damaged frozen food ends up on Dollar Tree trucks. It's the graveyard of the food supply chain rebranded, relabeled, and shoved into chest freezers that barely hum. According to insider reports from Business Insider, some items arrive already half-thawed, with soggy cardboard and torn packaging, only to be taped over and tossed back in for sale. If you think that's illegal, you're not alone. The FDA has cited Dollar Tree stores in multiple states for failed freezer temperature controls. Items meant to be kept at 0 degrees were sitting above 45 for hours, creating a welcome mat for salmonella, listeria, and botulism. An investigation by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette in 2022 captured images from Dollar Tree stores in Ohio and West Virginia that looked more like abandoned morgues than retail freezers. Leaking coolant, broken vents crusted in ice, wires left dangling near pools of water. Some stores didn't even have working thermometers in their units, meaning employees had no idea if the food was safe, and most likely, neither did the managers. But when one underpaid worker covers the freezer, the stockroom, and the register all in one shift, you think anyone has time to babysit a chicken nugget? And let's talk about the brands. Ever heard of TJ Farms or Supreme Tradition? That's because they don't exist outside discount chains. These are made-up labels for rock-bottom production mystery ingredients molded into food-like shapes. The Center for Food Safety ran tests and found these products loaded with cheap fillers, hydrogenated fats, and even traces of propylene glycol, a chemical more at home in your car's radiator than your child's dinner plate. But it doesn't stop at bad ingredients. It reaches the hands that package them. Dollar Tree's supply chain connects to offshore plants tied to child labor, unregulated antibiotic use, and falsified export documentation in 2021. Human Rights Watch linked one frozen beef supplier to a facility in Brazil known for exploiting migrants and forging USDA paperwork. So while you're paying $1, someone halfway across the world is paying in sweat, blood, or worse. Still, it's not hopeless. Some families are quietly switching to chains like Food Lion, whose My Essentials frozen line offers budget options with actual oversight. Their freezers are routinely checked, and products are traceable, not plucked from the reject bin. And if you're lucky enough to live near a local co-op or CSA, more and more now offer flash frozen produce and pre-made meals at cost to seniors or low-income families. You don't need to guess what's in your food. You deserve to know. Dollar Tree once gave hope with a full cart for a few crumpled bills. But now, every icy box in their freezer carries more questions than answers, and the price of ignorance might just hit you in the gut. Number 3. Save-A-Lot. It's the kind of store that doesn't bother with background music. No cheerful greeters, no bakery smells floating down the aisles, just hard concrete floors, dim lights, and prices printed big enough to calm your heartbeat. For years. Save-A-Lot has branded itself as the store that gets real no fluff. Just savings. A no-nonsense sanctuary for working folks, seniors on fixed incomes, or anyone trying to stretch a $10 bill into 3 dinners and a side of vegetables. But behind that stripped-down charm lies a freezer aisle that's not just cutting corners, it's cutting public safety right at the bone. Take a good look at the brands Save-A-Lot pushes Grissom's, Mantia's, Portside. They sound like a neighbor's last name or something your cousin might cook at a church potluck, but don't be fooled. These are in-house labels built to keep costs microscopic, even if it means ingredient lists that look more like chemical inventories than food. In a 2023 analysis by the Environmental Working Group, these frozen items ranked among the lowest for transparency and nutritional quality. One Grissom's frozen meatloaf wasn't even meatloaf in the traditional sense. It contained mechanically separated scraps, sodium phosphate, the same stuff used in detergents, carrageenan, and over 1,300 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly a full day's limit in one tray smaller than a paperback novel. But the real rot it's hiding where you can't see it inside the storage rooms, behind broken freezers, and inside policies soaked in silence. A 2022 undercover report by Inside Edition exposed Save-A-Lot stores in Michigan and Missouri where frozen meats were kept in warm, non-refrigerated back rooms because of faulty equipment. One employee admitted, "We just keep it off the ground, but no, it's not always cold." Overnight shifts passed while raw chicken and turkey sat stacked next to mop water and cleaning rags. The meat wasn't thrown away. It went back on the shelf, back into shoppers' carts, back into homes where people thought they were buying frozen, safe food, even when state inspectors stepped in. The picture didn't improve. In 2021, the Illinois Department of Public Health fined Save-A-Lot over $100,000 for violations including unsanitary freezers, expired frozen meals still being sold, and so much ice buildup on packaging that customers couldn't read expiration dates. If you have to scrape frost just to guess whether your food is still good, that's not just an inconvenience. That's negligence with a barcode. And there's a colder truth, one that has nothing to do with refrigeration. Save-A-Lot relies on industrial meat suppliers who've been repeatedly cited for labor abuses and animal mistreatment. One Arkansas poultry processor used by Save-A-Lot faced a class action lawsuit for making employees scrub blood-soaked floors with no protective gear and wear the same filthy uniforms day after day. That's not just unethical. That's the smell of corporate cruelty baked into your chicken nuggets. Save-A-Lot doesn't accidentally show up in struggling towns. It targets them. It thrives in food deserts communities where choices are so limited. People are forced to accept whatever's on the shelf. The brand markets itself as a solution. But let's call it what it is, a monopoly on desperation. It's like tossing folks a moldy blanket during a blizzard and saying you're offering warmth. But there are better ways to eat without betting your health. Piggly Wiggly, yes. The name sounds like a cartoon. But don't laugh too fast has quietly stepped up, especially in the South. Their frozen foods now include more USDA choice meats and flash frozen produce from nearby farms. They even partner with state programs to provide EBT discounts and senior incentives. The difference? Their savings don't come dipped in freezer burn and mystery ingredients. And if you've got access to a stove, here's a trick worth remembering. Split a pack of discounted fresh meat with a neighbor. Portion it at home. Label it with the date. And freeze it right tight bags. Zero guesswork. It takes one evening of effort to save your body from a week of regret. Save-A-Lot might spare your wallet, but what it takes from your health, your trust, and your sense of choice is far more costly. In a system built on corners, every tray of ice-covered value food asks the same chilling question: how much risk are we really swallowing in the name of a deal number 4? Family Dollar. There's a certain sound to Family Dollar. The buzz of flickering fluorescent lights, the low hum of an old freezer, the distant beep of a register ringing up a frozen pot pie and a jug of dish soap. In neighborhoods where the big grocery chains packed up and left, Family Dollar stayed behind like an old gas station, weathered, weary, but still open. For families juggling bills and holding their breath until payday, it's been the pantry of last resort. But open the freezer door, and what stares back isn't just cheap dinner, it's corporate decay, cold to the bone. In February of 2022, that decay turned stomach-churning. The FDA launched an emergency inspection of Family Dollar's distribution hub in Arkansas and uncovered what could only be described as a horror show with a barcode. Over 1,000 rodents dead, alive, decomposing were found inside the warehouse. Rat nests tucked between pallets, droppings streaking across frozen food cartons, gnawed through boxes of chicken tenders, pizzas, and ice cream bars, all shipped to over 400 stores in the South without so much as a warning to the shoppers who'd buy them. It wasn't just a contamination risk. It was an infestation of trust. And when managers at the store level found evidence of tampering, a leaked memo instructed them to rotate stock and clean packaging. In plain English, wipe the rat droppings off and keep it moving. These weren't rogue stores. This was protocol, a business plan that relied on bleach and hope to keep the sales flowing, even after the media firestorm and forced closures. The deeper problems never thawed. Family Dollar's freezers, if you can call them that, are famous for being broken more often than not. In 2023, NBC News Atlanta captured footage of freezers held shut with duct tape, interiors climbing above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not freezing. That's slow-cooking salmonella while no one's watching. And it's not just the storage, it's the food itself. The Clover Valley brand, Family Dollar's in-house label, sells frozen meals with ingredient lists that sound like a failed chemistry quiz, TBHQ. Disodium inosinate, propyl gallate flavor enhancers and preservatives banned or restricted in other countries. One product had over 1,700 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's not dinner. That's a warning label with a microwave timer. Even worse, Family Dollar contracts with third-party processors with sketchy records. In 2021, one supplier was caught stuffing chicken pot pies with unlabeled beef byproducts and organs. The box still said chicken. What's inside might say otherwise. Behind this mess is a human cost that never makes it onto the packaging. Factory workers in Vietnam and Guatemala, earning less than $2 a day, handling meat without gloves, hairnets, or refrigeration. Processing facilities where meat sits in open-air heat until it's sealed and shipped. But as long as the freezer section at Family Dollar stays stocked, the suffering stays buried beneath layers of frost. So when the store that never left becomes the one you can't trust, what's next? Some shoppers in the South and Midwest are turning to Brookshire's Still Affordable, but with monitored freezer temps, USDA choice meats, and in-store butchers who cut and flash freeze on site. Even the generics have fewer additives and packaging you can actually read. Or consider the Amish bulk stores gaining quiet popularity in Ohio and Indiana. No glowing signs, no loyalty cards, just hand-packed meat and vegetables frozen by real people in real kitchens. It's not flashy, but when the other option involves rodent residue and guesswork, suddenly low-tech feels like a luxury. Family Dollar once meant help when there was nowhere else to turn. But these days, it's more like an abandoned promise humming behind a freezer door. And the hum, it's not comfort. It's the echo of a question we should all be asking: what exactly are we trusting to keep our food cold? Number 5. Food for less. Food for less was built like a warehouse and sold like a deal. No chandeliers, no catchy music, no baggers to make small talk, just concrete floors, metal racks, and neon orange price tags that screamed, "You're getting a steal." You bring your own bags, do the heavy lifting, and walk out thinking you beat the system. In working-class neighborhoods where every dollar has to stretch like a bungee cord. It felt like a small win frozen dinners for $5, oversized bags of chicken wings, and meat trays big enough to feed a family and still have leftovers. But what if that win was hiding something rotten? What they don't say in the weekly flyer is this: food for less may sit under the Kroger brand, but it's a very different world behind the scenes. Multiple food safety audits, never advertised but quietly documented, show that many food for less stores are dumping grounds for the lower tier or overstocked items that never make it to Kroger's flagship locations. In 2020, a Los Angeles location was caught selling ground turkey more than 3 weeks past its expiration date, marked as a manager's special, like it was some lucky find. The meat wasn't frozen solid. It was aging like a forgotten leftover in the back of a college fridge. And those freezers you trust to do the one job they were made for. According to a report from NBC San Diego, some of them couldn't keep a promise if they tried. In one inspection, the freezer temperatures ranged from 25 to 47 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not a technical error, that's a buffet for Clostridium perfringens, a bacteria that thrives in that exact range and loves pre-cooked frozen foods like meatballs and enchiladas. Employees told investigators they noticed ice forming on boxes overnight, but managers told them to keep stocking anyway. If it feels frozen, it's fine, they said. Tell that to the ER nurse treating food poisoning. And then there's the Heritage Farm Chicken, an in-house brand sold almost exclusively through Food for Less. Sounds rustic. Right, but customer complaints have included green flesh, a sulfuric smell, and even feathers sealed in the packaging like someone forgot to finish plucking. The supplier Tyson Fresh Meats sued in 2021 for falsely advertising cage-free chickens that were packed in dark. Industrial barns with zero daylight and the lovely aroma of ammonia floating through the air like room freshener from hell. It doesn't stop at chicken. Food for Less fills its freezers with imported vegetables and seafood from countries with paper-thin labor laws. Thailand, Vietnam, India, where factory workers peel shrimp behind locked doors for pennies an hour. A 2022 expose by The Guardian traced bags of value seafood shrimp sold at Food for Less to one of those plants. That shrimp sat right next to the frozen fish sticks, looking innocent as ever. A former employee in Bakersfield, California, posted photos of the store's backup freezer, an ancient walk-in unit patched together with duct tape and mildew. "We stacked boxes so high the vents were blocked," they said. When the power went out overnight, we'd open the door in the morning and smell everything. If it didn't stink, it went back out for sale. Now compare that to Hy-Vee, a Midwestern chain where quality isn't a guessing game. Their frozen goods come with QR codes tracing every detail, from the farm to the freezer. Freezers are regularly inspected by third-party auditors, not the "we checked it ourselves" system that Food 4 Less has been hiding behind. Even their generic frozen corn comes in BPA-free bags with sourcing information printed in plain English. And if you're in a Latino neighborhood, La Michoacana Meat Market has become a quiet favorite. They cut and flash freeze their meats in-house every morning. You see it, you smell it, and you don't need a science degree to pronounce what's on the label. Food 4. Less sells the image of smart shopping, but underneath the markdowns and freezer deals is a cocktail of expired meat, broken equipment, and human exploitation. What they've really cut isn't prices, it's responsibility. And when what's thawing in your freezer has been marinated in lies, the price isn't on the tag, it's already in your bloodstream. Number 6. Smart and Final. Smart and Final claims to be the clever pick for smart shoppers. But what's clever about freezer-burned shrimp hiding expired dates, behind its bulk-sized bargains and First Street private label? Smart and Final's frozen aisle hides shortcuts that could make even bargain hunters sweat. In 2023, Consumer Reports flagged First Street meats for high antibiotic residues and trace formaldehyde, a known carcinogen often used illegally in foreign processing plants. The supplier list packed with distributors from India and Southeast Asia, where meat regulation is about as solid as melted ice cream. Worse yet, the commerce. California warehouse failed 2 FDA inspections in 1 year for storing frozen chicken in standing water, cracked cooling pipes, and broken freezer doors that wouldn't seal. Workers were told to stack spoiled meat anyway, and if labels were unreadable, to cover them with stickers. If it stinks, toss it. If it looks fine, sell it, one whistleblower said. And don't be fooled by manager specials. Many are just expired seafood with new stickers slapped over old dates. Some First Street salmon was found weeks overdue, still sold as fresh frozen. While Smart and Final plays warehouse roulette, safer bets exist. Grocery outlet tracks freeze dates and audit logs, and local halal or kosher markets. They freeze meat on site with strict standards. No sticker games required. Smart and Final may look industrial, but their freezers conceal a cheap trick, one that gambles your health for pennies off. Number 7. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's feels like a friendly neighbor, quirky names, cheerful signs, frozen meals with flair. It sells charm by the box, especially in the freezer aisle. But what happens when that charm masks danger? In 2021, Trader Joe's had to recall over 100,000 pounds of Chile lime chicken burgers because they contained sharp plastic shards. Then in 2023, their frozen falafel was recalled, this time for embedded rock fragments. Real rocks. One customer joked they bit into a gravel-filled chickpea. The store's beloved frozen entrees, Indian curries, Asian noodles, Mediterranean plates are often produced overseas in factories with weak food safety enforcement. But the packaging doesn't say made in Vietnam or processed in Thailand. It says Trader Joe's, with a pun and a pastel color palette. Seafood isn't any safer. In 2022, the Center for Food Safety linked Trader Joe's shrimp and tilapia to suppliers using slave labor and banned antibiotics. Products banned in Europe still made their way into American freezers, wrapped in Trader Joe's branding and a smile. If you want frozen meals without the mystery, Lidl offers traceable sourcing, temperature logs, and real food standards. Local ethnic markets also flash freeze meat on site, offering freshness without deception. Trader Joe's may smile at the register, but behind the Hawaiian shirts and free samples lies a cold truth: what you're really buying might be less food and more risk. It's not just frozen food, it's frozen trust, hidden behind discounts and smiling logos. These stores built their names on convenience, but many have traded safety for savings, leaving consumers to gamble with their health. But you don't have to play along. Demand better. Look beyond the sticker price. What's in your freezer should nourish, not deceive. If this shocked you, share it. Talk about it. Because when the cold truth comes out, staying silent is no longer an option.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest daily videos. Now, feel free to check out other feature videos currently showing on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.